in regards to eating animals which are put in conditions that are abusive. Take a human being who has been traumatized. Take a human being who has gone through war. A human being who lived in a war-torn country and experienced post-traumatic disorder. Take a veteran, a war veteran who experienced post-traumatic disorder. And I actually know somebody very close to me, a close relative, who has been through war, and he has post-traumatic disorder, and he's very nervous. Uh, he's very nervous. He's always stressed. He's always nervous. Things that you and I, for us, is like normal. It would make him very nervous. And he would just get really stressed and start to freak out because of the post-traumatic disorder, because of what he has experienced in the war. So take a human being that has been traumatized and just observe them. Observe the way they behave. Observe their actions. Observe their behavior. And you will see that there's a lot of fear and a lot of stress in that human being, because that body stores every experience. Your body remembers everything. Your nervous system picks on everything. 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 If you were to go into deep meditation, not only would you be able to remember everything from your past, you'd probably even be able to remember your past lives. There's such a thing as past life hypnosis. And there are very skilled people that are capable of hypnotizing you to the point where you remember your past lives. Because everything gets picked up. This is a simulation. It's information based. Everything is coded. Everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. Okay? It's just like the internet. If you go on the internet, everything on the internet is recorded. You've got to go and delete everything from the browse, right? The search history. We all know about that, right? I mean, for reasons, right? I mean, you teenagers would know what I'm talking about. But everything gets recorded, not only from this life but all the previous lives. So a lot of times people would come into this life, human beings, and they would exhibit behavior that clearly shows a traumatized person, even though they haven't been traumatized in this life. Not as much anyway, because they're carrying traumas from their past lives. So everything gets recorded. The nervous system picks up everything. Every experience is recorded. So in the same way with animals, every experience is recorded. They're just like us. They have nervous systems. They have feelings. They have pain receptors. They have pleasure receptors. Elephants grieve for the dead ones. When somebody dies in an elephant family, the family cries. They grieve. They cry. They cry. Oh my God, they cry. Dogs, look at dogs. Dogs know you. They sense you. They feel you. So they're just like us. They have nervous systems. They have feelings, pain receptors, pleasure receptors. They pick up every experience. Now, if an animal has been abused and they've been stressed and put in these concentration camps, bred in these brutal ways, and then killed, what kind of experience do you think they're exhibiting? What kind of experience do you think is being picked up by their nervous system? How much cortisol, which is the stress hormone, do you think is being secreted by the adrenal glands of that animal? Now you go pick up that piece of meat from that animal and you eat it. What do you think is happening? What kind of information do you think you're picking up on? There's certain information in there that is being picked up, going inside of you, and now that is becoming you. The body has to take in this information, has to process it, assimilate it into this organism and then eliminate the waste. So that information has to be assimilated into you. You're picking up on all that. You're picking up on all that stress. You're picking up on all that cortisol. You're picking up on that experience of that animal. That experience is becoming you. Now you might say, well, no, not really, blah, blah, blah. Well, the manifestation of that can take on many different forms. It can take on in the form of a nightmare. You may have a nightmare because you ate that animal, because you picked up on a particular unpleasant experience of that animal. It carried on to you. Folks, everything's connected. There's no separation. It's only the illusion of separation that makes a person acting in ignorance. Ignorance is just you don't see the oneness, the connectedness. Pick up an animal that has gone through a lot of torture and a lot of suffering and eat it. You don't know how it's affecting you, but it's affecting you. Remember, most of your experience is being run by your subconscious, not by your conscious. You might consciously say, no, but I'm doing fine, like I'm doing good in the world, like it's not affecting me. But your conscious mind is only like 5% of your experience. Your subconscious determines most of your experience. And you have no idea how that's affecting you. Now, if you're not eating these animals that have been tortured and going through all these conditions, if you eat them every now and then, obviously the effects are going to be much less. It will still be there, but it will be more subtle. But if you're eating these animals that are, again, going through these conditions every day, it's going to become more and more visible in your experience. The effects, the stress, the fear that these animals go through, the information that gets picked up, the trauma. I mean, these animals all have PTSD. They all have post-traumatic disorder. They're all been scarred. They've all been traumatized. They're traumatized. You're going to pick up on that. You're going to pick up on that. So if you're going to still engage in the experience, because it's just an experience, of eating other animals, make sure they are treated really well. Make sure they are running and they are living in nature and they are getting sunshine and they're playing with their pals, and they're having an experience. They're having an experience that is natural. Okay, that they aren't being suppressed, they aren't being put in cages, they aren't being put in chains, they aren't being put in these really, I mean, absolutely, what's the word here? Inhumane, not even inhumane. It's just not these conditions that putting them in cages and in these concentration camp. It is concentration camps. That's life suppression. You're suppressing life. You're suppressing the expression of the Tao. You're suppressing it. That's anti-life. That's anti-life behavior. So you're going to get anti-life manifestation in here. And it's going to manifest in whatever way it manifests. If you're going to eat animals, make sure they're raised on a farm. Make sure they roam freely. Make sure they run around freely. I'm not here to tell you what to eat. It's none of my business. None of my business what anybody does. But I think it is my business to bring to your awareness that we live in a simulation and it's all information based. And you're an informational field, essentially. An energy field is an informational field. So when you listen to music, for example, music acts upon you in a certain way because music carries a certain vibration, also known as information field, which interacts with your information field and alters that information field, therefore presenting to you a certain sensation. Could be pleasant, unpleasant, you interpret it however you interpret it, but it alters your informational field. And they've done so many studies on water showing how music and words alter the molecular structure of the water. because it just alters the informational field. The water comes in with a certain informational field, and then the music or the words have a certain informational field of their own, and they interact with that informational field, and then they produce a new informational field. In the same way, there's a certain informational field of that. Any foods that you consume, they have a certain informational field. If the animal has been abused, you could only think of what that informational field is like. Probably not very pleasant. Not probably, for sure not pleasant. Won't. And when it comes and interacts with your informational field, the result is a certain alteration that is more than likely going to cause unpleasantness in the system, unpleasantness in the informational field, in the new code that is being projected, because it's a code, it gets projected, it projects a new reality. It comes from human beings' ignorance of the oneness of all things, of the connection of all things. If you see the connection of all things, it's like Jesus says on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. It's just ignorance. It's separation consciousness. It's not seeing your connection to the whole, how everything is so connected and everything affects everything. The more you're conscious and aware of the oneness, the more you're aware of how everything is altering your experience of life, either causing more harmony, which is pleasantness, or more disharmony, which is unpleasantness. Alright, I said my piece. Thank you to all the Patreons for your continued support. Big kiss to you guys. Big love from this big heart right here. And thank you to all the people who also support one-time donations on PayPal. I got a very generous donation today. Thank you so much. If you would like to support in any way, the links are in the description. Instagram, Saeed Mobayed, if you want to get in touch. And that's about it. Until next time, may the force be with you.